Okay everyone, we have a 1988 Jeep Cherokee Pioneer. The AC isn't blowing cold, and so the guy at the repair shop recommended that I change out the AC evaporator. Okay, so I ordered an AC evaporator, and while I'm at it, I'm going to go ahead and change out the heater core. So on the left is the heater core, and on the right is the AC evaporator. It's recommended to do it this way because we have to pull the dash back, and there's a good bit of work involved in that. Okay, so here's the engine. First thing I'm going to do is disconnect the negative battery cable, and there's 3 bolts on the firewall that I'm going to work on. One right there in the middle, and number 2 is right, see it right there in the middle, and then the 3rd one, oh, see it right there, and then I'm gonna disconnect. There's 3 bolts holding this blower motor fan. You can see one there on the top, and there's a couple more down there. I think you can see one right there in the middle, and it's blocking one. Okay, just a little update here, showing you my progress. This bolt came off, or this nut rather came off, no problem at all, and so that's number 1. Then the next thing I did was here's this little coolant bottle here. I had to just remove these 2 bolts here. The one goes here, one goes there. These are just 10mm bolts. Get this out the way, and then it gives me a little access here. So there's the 2nd bolt and the 3rd bolt. Now these are not quite as easy as the first one. See, I'm having to use a pair of vice grips to hold the screw in place, or the bolt in place, and then I'm using a wrench just to screw the nut off. Okay, what I did, everyone, I took this fan out just to give me a little easier access to this last bolt here, and the fan, it was just 3 screws or 3 bolts holding it in. Let's see, these 3 right here, 1, 2, 3, and right there, and these were just I think they were 8mm. Okay, so now I'm taking the last bolt right there off, and so here are the 3 bolts that hold the HVAC box on, and I was told this is sort of the hardest part of the job, taking these 3 bolts off. And it's an 11mm bolt, and or nut rather, and so again there's 1, 2, and you can see there's a 3rd one right there in the middle. So now I'm gonna wash my hands and go start working on the inside of the Jeep. Okay, just a little intel here just to show you what I've done. Okay, here are the tools I used. I took off the 3 bolts from the firewall, and these are, see the 3 bolts, 1, 2, or 3 nuts, and these are 11mm. That's the wrench I used. Took off the negative battery cable. These are the 3 screws that hold in that blower fan, and I used this 8mm, just 8mm sockets. One's a deep socket, and so again, just
ratchet, driver there, small pair of vice grips, and so this took me about 45 minutes. Okay, I've decided before I actually start working on pulling the dash back, I want to do a little more under the hood. I want to go ahead and disconnect these two hoses right there. These are the, I think, the coolant hoses. I want to go ahead and disconnect. These are the AC lines, so there's a bolt here, bolt there. I want to disconnect. Okay, another update. I started this job at about 3:30 in the afternoon, and it's straight up 5 o'clock now. So I'm not working, you know, I'm not in a hurry or nothing, but just update on what I did. I decided to go ahead and disconnect the two coolant lines right there, and I put a Ziploc bag with rubber band, and so you want to remember which one goes which. This is the top one, this is the bottom one. And so that's the two hoses for the right here, 1 and 2 lines that go into the heater core. Then next I went ahead and disconnected the AC expansion valve. These are just 3/4 inch bolts, and again put a Ziploc bag with the rubber band to kind of protect it. And I noticed that when I was taking it off, one of the O-rings broke, and so I'm gonna have to go get me some O-rings at the parts store tomorrow. So here we are. Now I think I'm pretty much done down here, and also I had to undo 3 bolts. I think this is to kind of make a little space for me to work. I think this is the not power steering, but cruise control. Okay, now I'm ready to start pulling the dash back, and I got everything cleaned out, and I'm going to go ahead, and I was told you have to take this console out and just start disassembling. Okay, another update. I've taken out a total of 15 screws, and you see 3, let's see, nuts right there. So I'll show you the 3 nuts just simply held the glove compartment box door. I was told maybe take that off. So that's off. And then you see how this is loose, and basically that's where all these screws came from, and it's pretty self-explanatory. You see them right here, right there. Take the ashtray out, and this one's a little different than the rest, so that's why I have it separated. That's kind of like when you pull the ashtray out, you'll see it. I took one out here, one out here. There's Phillips head. This little thing was like a little, kind of like whatever string here attached to the glove compartment box door. It's self-explanatory. And there's a few screws under here, and let's see, there's a few couple under there, one under here. Same thing with the headlight switch, one under there, and like I said, it's self-explanatory. So these are all the same, and then these are a little different, I guess. And so I'm gonna put them someplace where I won't lose them. Okay, everyone, back with an update. I've got a few pieces from the dash taken off again. The door of the glove compartment box, that's taken off pretty easy. Started taking off this cover here, again just a bunch of screws. Snaps right off, fairly easy, minimal effort. And I took out the console. These 2 pieces here just snapped right off with my fingers, not much. This here just lifts straight up, comes off, no problem. And this is the top part of the console. I mean, just look for screws, and pretty easy. And this is the bottom part of the console. Again, you see all the little screw holes, you know, and right there, pretty easy. I guess the most challenging part is this: I had to put the key in the ignition, turn it forward, and I had to put this all the way, pull it all the way back, just to kind of get the console out. And I see I have the four-wheel drive. I had that pulled back, emergency brake pulled up, just so I can get it out of there. But you know, it wasn't very hard at all. Plugging away. Okay, you see the lower part of the dash just hanging down. I've already, like I said, already have all the screws out, so I'm just gonna start disconnecting. I'm gonna disconnect that light. I'm gonna just disconnect that. Just a little plug. Again, that's just a little light here. See, this was just this hose. Well, it just pulls that back off, just a vent. There's two right here on the bottom, saw two screws. I'm just gonna unscrew that. That was just held on there with Velcro. And another light. Okay, I got the lower dash disassembled, making headway. Okay, the next thing I did is take off this, they call this a kick plate. It's right here. This is where your feet go, and I guess, and there's just a screw right there, and then two more screws. There's Phillips head screws come out, and then from there you have this 15, I don't know if you can see it or not, but it's kind of dark, apologize, and just a 15 millimeter head bolt right there. And the same thing on the other side. And you take off the kick plate, and there's one 15 millimeter head bolt, and pretty easy to spot. And then let's see, I disconnected that, and then this little, I guess, spaceship looking thing, I don't know if you can see it there, but that's like the vacuum. There's the vacuum line, just pull that off. And then there's this connector, just unplug it, pretty self-explanatory. And then this part right here, you want to disconnect rather. Let's see if I can get my light on it. But this right here, this is like the cable whenever you adjust the AC. This little thing right there just snaps right out of the hole. I'm trying to, again, pretty self-explanatory. And I use a little flathead screwdriver to help me get it out, just to kind of squeeze the little thing. So you have to squeeze it. If you look, squeeze, comes right out. Then this little thing here, you know, using a little screwdriver here, flathead screwdriver, to get it out, disconnect it. Okay, so to get back to this little cable I was telling you about, this is like, I guess, like a little bolt, I guess, whatever you want to kind of keeps it on there, but you got this little cable right there. Again, that just pushes into this little hole. Right, boy, it's so dark. But you'll figure it out whenever you're there. But this little thing that kind of goes down, this right there just pushes right on it. Like that. Let's see. Just bear with me here, but see it there. You can kind of see the little rod that it pushes up on. And then this little clip here, whatever you call it, just pushes up on it, holds it in place. Okay, give you an update. It's 7:20 in the evening, so I started at 3:30, and like I said, now it's 7:20. And first, I had to take this off, and then there's just I think what 1, 2, 3 Phillips head screws holding that on, and I took that off. Then you have, you see this right here, there's 4 of these 8mm holding this on, and so I took that off. So far the biggest challenge is just keeping track of all these freaking nuts and bolts. So anyways, okay, so then also what I had to do, I'll walk around here. There's 2 bolts underneath the steering wheel. You can't miss them, but here they are. This one goes there. Let's see if I can get it. Oh, here we go. This one right below the steering wheel, and this allowed me to pull the dash back, and I think these are like 5/8. So if you just look at them, like I said, it's pretty clear to see right there under the steering wheel. I had to unloose and take those off, and so I see I have it tied back. Okay, update. It's 8 o'clock. Again, I started at about 3:30, and it's straight up 8 right now. And show you where I'm at. And I got this thing loose. It's pretty much ready to pull out now. I just gotta finagle with it. But initially, it wouldn't budge. But there's one screw right here, one bolt on the inside. It's an 8mm. You unscrew it from the bottom, comes right out, and then it still wouldn't budge. So came around, and I initially thought there were 3 of these holding it, but I found 2 more, and they took forever to get out. But one came out fairly easy. In fact, it was, I don't know if it's kind of dark, but it was right there, so that was pretty easy to get to. But the one that I spent, oh my god, it was straight below, right here. You can see where my middle finger's pointing there, and straight down. I did not have much room to work with, so I had to squeeze a small pair of vice grips to hold the bolt in place, allowing me to get the nut off. And that was no fun. So, but it's done. So again, I learned all this watching YouTube videos. So I noticed some people said another guy had an 88 Jeep, same year as mine. He only had 3, and some other Jeeps had 5. So mine has 5, but I don't think 5 is going to go back on. Again, this is an 88 Jeep Cherokee. I don't believe the heater core or AC evaporator has ever been changed, because in addition to this one bolt you have to undo, there's a strap, like you can see it right there, that also holds it. Well, here I'm pulling it out now, and so this means that's the way it came from the factory, is my guess, because odds are if someone pulled this out and put it back in, they're not going to put one of these little straps around it. So this is from the factory. So this is a 1988, it's a 30-year-old vehicle. I'm pretty sure it's safe to say this is the original heater core and AC evaporator. So I am done for the day, and I will continue tomorrow morning. Okay, good morning everyone. It's about 8:15 the next morning, and so I got this thing pretty much out of the vehicle there. You see the front part of it, and so when you're pulling this thing out, this is the area I have to work with. You just don't want to just carelessly pull. Be sure you get, this is the vacuum line that kind of feeds through right there. So be sure you pull that out. And right here, as I was pulling out, I noticed there were some vacuum lines. Okay, so I just kind of get a good view here. Some vacuum lines. Again, like you just don't want to be, careless and pull this thing out. So you just want to disconnect these guys here. And so I'll get these disconnected. Okay, one thing I want to point out, pretty snazzy here, these vacuum lines are color coded. See how this one is yellow and obviously goes onto the yellow, and this one is kind of like brown gold, goes on the brown one. Then this blue guy here goes on this blue one, so that's pretty helps there. And again, this just to show you, just pulls right off, no problem. Okay, so now we have the heater core, or the E, with the HVAC box, whatever you call that, just all the way out of the Jeep. Just give you a view of it. These two here, that's your AC evaporator. These two are your heater core. And so we just have a bunch of little bolts here. And I'm going to start taking off. Okay, just a little update here. See that little pile of screws there I took out, and this right here, that kind of just sets on top like that. Again, 2 screws. These screws are a what's this, 9/32 socket I'm using, and this, see, kind of folds up. There's your AC evaporator, and there's your heater core right there. So fixing to take these out and put the new guys in. Okay, here I'm back. I lifted it up, and just a little heads up, if you look straight down there, there's a tiny screw holding it down, and one is right in here between these two pipes is a tiny screw holding it down, so I'm going to get that out. And it's the same size as all these other screws, 9/32 socket I'm using. Okay, the heater core is out, and I'm going to take this off, and I'm going to see if I can just use it on here. I mean, just a nice cushion for it. And, so I'm going with my plan. And so they say you always want to compare the two parts, and you know, for the original it doesn't look bad, it wasn't leaking or anything, but like I said, my main mission for this repair is to change out the AC evaporator, and they said, you know, because they're side by side, you know, the AC evaporator and the heater core, they say you just want to change both of these out at the same time. So the heater core was about $40 from rockauto.com, and the AC evaporator, I got it about $70 from stockwiseauto.com. So again, I just look for the cheapest part. I have no loyalty towards any particular website. Okay, now I've got the heater core in. Wasn't very hard. AC evaporator out, and before I was able to slide it out, there was this rod, kind of just like a temperature sensor. It was pushed in here, and I had to pull that out, and you see a little hole is where it goes into. Okay, just comparing the old and the new part. Again, this is the AC evaporator from stockwiseauto.com. And so there's a slight variation, a little difference. If you see how these two come straight out. This one kind of like an angle there, and these two are straight up. These are kind of side by side. Yeah, and so but the AC lines are flexible, so it shouldn't be an issue, but it's the same height and width, so we'll give it a go. Okay, I noticed another difference in these two AC evaporators. The old evaporator had this little like cable here pushed inside of it, and again it appears to be just a temperature sensor, and I had to pull it out here in order to lift the evaporator up and out. But this new one doesn't have the hole for it to slide in, so basically I'm just gonna have it bent down like this and see if that works. Okay, another issue I just came up on, very minor, but this, because these pipes here are straight up versus at an angle, it didn't quite fit perfectly into this plastic casing, so I had to, with my cutters here, I had to cut a few pieces of plastic off of there in order for this to fit. And so hopefully it works. Okay, so now that I have it in there, and this was kind of like the little foam piece that goes over it, and so being that these are kind of straight up and down, doesn't quite fit, so I'm gonna have to do some cutting on this. Basically I'm gonna get my little knife here and just kind of cut that out there. Okay, good stuff. Heater box is all assembled, ready to go. Only 2 screws left over, and so that's pretty good. But I know where these 2 screws went, and old you see evaporator, these 2 holes here, these screws went in through the box and through here, kind of held it in place. But the new evaporator didn't have these 2 holes, so that's why I have these 2 guys left over. So, but it's not moving, it's pretty solid in there. And so anyways, just plugging away. Okay, just working it in there, and those vacuum lines earlier, got those connected. Again, they're color coordinated, so no problem there. Okay, a little bit of intel here. So I got it in there, and I'm being real careful, making sure I'm not snagging on anything, but just something I wanted to show you. Here are the vacuum lines, and again, they're color coordinated. I got them plugged in where they had to go, but you see along here they have these little things here to where you can just push them right back into the hole. It kind of secures them in place. See, it just snaps right in. There's one about right there at the tip of my finger, snapped back in. So again, we're making headway. Okay, we're just a couple minutes later. It wasn't all that hard to get it in. See this? I got this lined up. This is the bolt that I was telling you that it goes, take it out from the bottom. So I mean, it's lined up pretty much right here, and we'll come around here, and you see I got the bolts pushed out all the holes, and it could be a little helpful to have a second person here just to, you know, let you know that the holes are lined up. But again, I'm by myself. It wasn't hard. Literally, like, not even maybe 5 minutes. So all the bolts are through the holes, and I'm gonna start screwing this thing in. Okay, just a little heads up. I had to pull the box back out. I forgot to feed these vacuum lines through, so I'm glad I caught it before I tightened all the bolts down. Okay, here I'm back. A couple minutes later, I got these 2 vacuum lines fed through, and that's them right here. And so, like I said, I'm glad I remembered that before I got all these bolts tightened down. Okay, just giving you an update. Okay, it's about 11:45 right now, giving you guys an update. and I have the main part of the dash in, and it was a bit of a challenge holding it up with one hand and getting these 4 bolts started with the other, and I only put 3 of them in. 1, 2, 3, and that corner over there, you know, it's kind of a tight spot, but it's definitely in there, and it's not going anywhere. And I went ahead and this bolt right there, that's a 15 millimeter. I got that tightened up. That holds the dash in place. And there's another one just like it on the other side. And so I'll go around. I want to show you these 2 bolts underneath the steering wheel. And yesterday I said they were 5/8. Actually, it's a 15 millimeter as well. And you see one right here. Here's the steering wheel. There's one right here on the other side. Again, these are 50 millimeter. You gotta take these off, and so the dash can pull out. No, it's not very hard. So I'm plugging away. Okay, it's about 1:15 in the afternoon, and I guess I'm officially done. And now I just got to go to the repair shop and get this thing charged up and see if a new AC evaporator would get it blown cold. So there it is, all in. And went to the repair shop, not repair shop, but a parts store. Got some more O-rings, and so I got that installed. And just added a little bit of coolant just to compensate for what little I lost. So there you go.